Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. Going to go over the top stories. The NATO meeting in Washington, D.C. concerning Ukraine. Very appropriate day for them to meet about Ukraine in D.C., the federal city where every day it's news by the numbers. Again, if you're new here, Gematria, the Kabbalistic practice of coding numbers into words. ABC is 1, 2, 3. Why would anyone do such a thing? Because the ancient belief is that this is the code of God. And seemingly this is how the ruling class plays God Kabbalistically. So Ukraine 79, like how we write today, 7/9. Perfect day for the ritual. A lot of the world writes today 9/7, the 9th day of the 7th month, like 97. Today's 97 days after Alec Baldwin's birthday, and they began putting together the jury for the Rust shooting trial. Again, Alec Baldwin shot the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust right before Ukraine-Russia's war broke out. So we'll talk more about that. We'll revisit old headlines like this when inflation was up 7.9% due to Ukraine. We'll talk more about Jim Inhofe's death. I put out a short video on this morning and forgot to mention something that was in the post, but we'll cover it here. Jim Inhofe, former senator in Oklahoma, dead at 89, and of course his name in Gematria is 89. Again, look up the song Murder by Numbers. Murder by Numbers by the Police, where killings as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. The lyrics say it's the sport of the elected. So Jim Inhofe dead at 89, and apparently his wife said they died holding hands. It just, it's all so strange. The Oak Ridge Boys, their member, dead at 76, Joe Bonsall. He's actually Joe Bonsall Jr., which has that Gematria 191. He's dead on the 191st day of the year. We'll talk more about that. And today, the experts put out a prediction that there'll be 25 named storms in the Atlantic this year. We'll get to why that's funny, why today, the 9th day of the 7th month, is so perfect for this story. This happened last week, and I forgot to cover it. Fox News brought it back up today. The death of the Cleveland Browns mascot, SJ. SJ is an interesting name because that is how Jesuit priests abbreviate SJ for Member of the Society of Jesus. And I noticed on the Cleveland Browns social media when they first introduced this dog, it was November 5th. Of course, that's the election day upcoming this year. But November 5th is important to the Jesuits. It's remember the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day, the day they tried to blow up British Parliament. And we'll look at a few other things that are interesting about this death of this dog, SJ, which died last Tuesday, July 2nd, 7-2. I'm sure you know about 72 in the Jesuits, why we got the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, on the 72nd day of the year. If not, we'll come back to it. Democrats had a meeting today about Biden, and it sounded like, based on what I've heard, it sounds like more Democrats support keeping Joe Biden in unless God Almighty intervenes. And we'll look at what's funny about that phrase that they've been putting everywhere since Biden's interview last Friday, where he said the only thing that's going to keep him from running is God Almighty. Yeah, and we'll get to why it matters that this happened on the 191st day of the year with Joe Biden, in light of what happened to his son, Beau Biden, at 46, back when Joe was 72. Which goes with, again, what happened to his wife and daughter back in 1972. We'll also revisit the John Havlicek thing. And in light of the parallels with this storm that just went through Texas, they're saying Beryl is going to go on a similar path as a storm through the country inland that the eclipse followed on April 8th. April 8th, it's interesting, right? Because so much focus was on Arizona that day, the 48th state, because of March Madness, but the date of the American eclipse was April 8th. That date can be written 8-4, like 84. Arizona's the 48th state, but in Gematria, Arizona equals 84. And remember, Hurricane Beryl equals 84. So Hurricane Beryl is following the similar path that the eclipse went on across the U.S. It's pretty weird. So yeah, we'll look more at what they did with Biden today. And about the eclipse. In light of the parallels with this hurricane, we talked about or what's going on with Hurricane Beryl. We talked about the parallels that go back to Hurricane Harvey, which hit a similar area of Texas. And I noticed something else about Hurricane Harvey that I've been overlooking all this time. So we'll cover that last. But let's start right here. In DC, they are meeting. NATO is, what is it? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, something like that. The military powwow that was created after World War II on April 4th, 4-4. Of course, the word military is 44. All the words in NATO's name also equate to 444. 4 is a number associated with death to the occult. That's what militaries bring. But yes, a perfect day to meet about Ukraine. And don't forget, you guys, right after the Rams won the Super Bowl and Sean McVay was out there with his Ukrainian fiance. Next thing you knew, there's this war in Ukraine that has the same color as the Rams when Ares is the god of war and Ares is the ram. And then NATO was having their first meeting about Ukraine in the time of Ares right after that Super Bowl, which concluded the 102nd NFL season in the Jesuit text, Art of War equals 102. These things have not been an accident. It's all been part of the script, scripted sports, scripted news, scripted world affairs, all highly symbolic. Something I might have been overlooking all this time, NATO's abbreviation, it's also reflected with the OTAN. If you take the gematria of NATO and OTAN, just the reflection in the reverse reduction cipher, it also adds up to 44, like how their establishment date is April 4th, 4-4. Again, military 44. NATO founded in D.C., where today's meeting is, April 4th, 1949. That was almost 4 years after the war officially ended, just shy of the 4th death anniversary of Adolf Hitler. But 49 is an interesting number as well because Washington equals 49 like America. And then MLK, he went against the U.S. military April 4th, 1967, and was killed a year to the day later, April 4th, 68. There's a number of things that are interesting with this ritual in light of how they had their first meeting about NATO back in 2022 in the time of Ares. From the start of Ares to today is 110 days later. Ares begins March 21st. Ukraine equals 79 when you run the alphabetic order forwards. It equals 110 when you run it in reverse. So they're meeting 110 days after the start of Ares. I don't think that's an accident. There again, the 4 base ciphers of Ukraine are 79, 110, 34, 47. We know that this is all synced up with Zelensky's upcoming 47th birthday. Biden has the 34 connection like Ukraine. Yesterday, the ritual with the children's hospitals we talked about, that was 201 days before Zelensky's 47th birthday. This whole war has been defined by the number 201 even before it began when Biden and Putin met 201 days into the first Jesuit Nation year on Pearl Harbor Day. So today is 200 days before Zelensky's birthday, but you could also say that today is a span of 201 days, including today and Zelensky's birthday. You follow? There's 200 days after today to his birthday, but if you include today and January 25th, which will be his upcoming birthday date, that's a total span of 201 days. Or January 25th, 2025 is 200 days after today. And by the way, just have you guys seen the stat they're putting everywhere about the children's hospital? They're saying at least Britain's new prime minister, Keir Starmer, and Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, were among those arriving at the U.S. Capitol amid a warning that Russia could step up missile strikes on Ukraine this week, repeating a barrage that killed at least 38 on Monday. Again, that barrage on Monday is supposedly what hit the children's hospital, but they have to tell you at least 38. Again, DC, where they're all meeting, is on the 38th parallel north. Pentagon equals 38, so does murder, so does death, so does killing, so does RIP. 38, always with death. This nation, a nation always at war. The capital named after a Masonic war general. But yeah, at least 38. I mean, oh, God. Yeah, again, just every day, just laying this I'm like, I don't know how the whole world hasn't caught on yet. I know I say that every day, but that's how I feel every day. I'm like, how are people still doubting this? How is my sister teaching my nephews and niece that their uncle's schizophrenic because he's pointing this out each day? Oh my god. It's just like you're schizophrenic because you observe and understand the mockery each day. I mean, my sister thinks she's mentally sound because she's voting for Joe Biden in the upcoming election. How backwards is this world? It's like I'm not accusing her of being schizophrenic because she's just listening to everything the TV tells her and is going to vote for an old dying man. She's like, George just interviewed him. George Stephanopoulos. He's trustworthy. That was just a coincidence when his producer died on Christmas. By the numbers. I think that was a big 38 ritual. But anyway, what a day to meet on Ukraine. And some people think this is schizophrenia, and then people who actually have a brain. And, they recognize that this is undeniable ritualism every day. It's either schizophrenic coincidence matching or it's obvious repetitious patterns on purpose by a Kabbalistic system that was clearly set up by the Jesuits, along with the calendar and the language in the 16th century. I mean, it's one of the two, and if you have a brain, it's not hard to figure out which one it is. And again, just the word murder, for the record, you guys, equals 79. The word death equals 97. The NATO, the killing forces getting together today. But death 97, this trial about the death of the Ukrainian woman on the set of Rust in a church shootout scene. Yeah, it's obvious that it's not an accident that it's 97 days after his birthday. It's very obvious it's not an accident. So, if you forgot, Helena Hutchins died 201 days after Alec Baldwin's birthday at 1:50 local time, and that matters along with him being born on the 93rd day of the year, the anniversary of Brandon Lee being buried in 93 after his death on the set of The Crow, which equals 38. Similar to his father's death, which happened while filming Game of Death, and his father died on the 201st day of the year. That's Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee with the fateful deaths, and now buried next to each other in Seattle, just down the street from the Jesuit University. Seattle U. Yeah, I'll have to look more into this, but the start date, no accident. It pays tribute to death. This post is from March 10th, 2022, days after Russia-Ukraine began. Just to remind you what they've been doing to us. Inflation up 7.9% because of Ukraine. Just total bullshit. Inflation's way up because we printed a ton of money for a pandemic, which was declared on the 79th day of Anthony Fauci's 70. Or that, if you guys go back to the pandemic, it was declared March 11th, 2020. It was the 79th day of Anthony Fauci being 79 years old. And Society of Jesus, the formal title for the Jesuits, is also 79. But okay, this Jim Inhofe thing. More to it than the short video I put out. Again, dead at 89. His name is 89 in the most simple cipher. That's obvious. 89 is the 24th prime, dead in 2024. We've seen a lot of that combination this year. His surname Inhofe alone has the 24 connection. But he became senator on his 60th birthday, if you look it up. He became senator November 17th, 1994. He was born November 17th, 1934. So he became senator on his 60th birthday. Today, the day of his death, is a date with 6 Okay, I just got notified that our stream went out about 5 minutes ago, and I'm not sure exact if it was 5 minutes ago. Harold, what was the last thing I was talking about before the stream went out? Well, what was the last thing I was talking about when the stream went out? I was talking about Inhofe? Okay. Well, if I was talking about Inhofe, I mean, it couldn't have been that long ago it cut out. Here, I'll just from the top again, dead at 89. His name is 89. 89 is the 24th prime. It's 2024. We've seen a lot of this number combination this year. Started with Harbaugh getting his 89th win with Michigan to win the championship in 2024. Then Mahomes gets his 89th win in the NFL to win the Super Bowl, getting the Chiefs their 24th playoff win to start 2024 when Missouri's the 24th state. Anyway, a lot of 89-24 this year. His surname alone again is 24. And the big thing about Inhofe is he became senator on his 60th birthday. On his 60th birthday was the day he became senator. He's now dead on 60 date numerology just before the 60th election. Again, 1960 gave us Kennedy, who was assassinated just a little bit south of Oklahoma in Dallas on Interstate 35, which runs from Dallas to Oklahoma City. Again, the 35th president was killed at age 35 on I-35 at age 46. Oklahoma's the 46th state. Joe Biden, number 46, with all the parallels to Kennedy. When Inhofe became senator, that was Biden's big year, 94, the year he had his crime bill. And then at the start of 95, Joe Biden passed the nation's first counterterrorism legislation, again on Governor Keating's birthday, who was the governor of Oklahoma at the time. But if you haven't seen our work on Oklahoma City, we went down there for the anniversary the other year, and we're sharing the information. Just one of the most obvious Jesuit murder rituals there ever was the Oklahoma City bombing on the anniversary of Ignatius Loyola becoming the first superior general of the Jesuits. And from the day that Inhofe became senator to the day that building blew up was 153 days later. Remember, Jesuit order equals 153 and 144. Forwards and backwards, 153, 144, both biblical numbers. 144,000 chosen, 153 fish in the miraculous catch. Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building, what blew up, also equals 144. Like the United States of America, like how the Jesuits came out of suppression 144 days after the president's birthday at the time, who was James Madison. Anyhow, Inhofe dies all these years later at this crucial moment, shortly after Joe Biden says only Lord Almighty can stop him from running. The phrase Lord Almighty equals, actually, here, let me punch in Lord Almighty in the calculator so you can just see it with your own eyes. Not only does it have the 144, which we can't stop talking about with the history of deaths and assassinations, but it's even got the 63, just like Kennedy curse is 144 and 63. And again, JFK and RFK both killed in the 144 rituals. JFK killed in 63. Obama, born the year that JFK became president. Obama's wingman, about to turn 63 on August 4th. Last year on August 9th, the day that JFK's infant child died, just before his own assassination, you had the assassination in South America of the man born in 63, dead 63 days from his birthday, running for office in Ecuador. And Ecuador established on the 144th day of the year, the shooting on the day, leaving 144 days left in the year. I want to say Ecuador was also established in the year 1946, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Jim Inhofe, dead also on the 191st day of the year, a date that can be written 7-9, and dead exactly 79 weeks after exiting office as a senator. So just think about how perfect that is. Exactly 79 weeks. He left office January 3rd, 2023. I mean, what a day to be dead. And what another miraculous coincidence if the Jesuits aren't running D.C. and behind all this. And not to mention the Jesuit order began with 60 official members. First decade with the Vatican, the Catholic Church. But yeah, Inhofe, when it cut out, I was talking about how Inhofe, if you go back to the time of 9/11, Inhofe was one of those politicians always on TV, warmongering, just all on board with the Patriot Act, pushing every different war idea possible. Jim Inhofe, he was one of the politicians when I was a young person looking into what was really going on. Just he was always there, and I could tell he was a villain in this whole scheme. And all these people really in DC are, but Jim Inhofe was especially one of them. He was like one of the biggest warmongers there ever was. And here he is in August 2011 talking about how much the nation's counterterrorism program has stopped terror attacks since 9/11, which is nothing but bullshit. I mean, if there were really people that wanted to kill us for our freedom with a wide open border, we'd have all kinds of problems going on in this country. Every building should have been perfectly demolished by now. But yeah, it's so obvious how much his death has to do with this upcoming election and his connections to Biden. And yeah, we're going to come back to this 191 number with regards to ritualistic Jesuit death and Joe Biden himself here in just a moment. And one more time, a famous singer from the Oak Ridge Boys, whose name is 191, is dead today. The Oak Ridge Boys, 79. It's a perfect day for him to pass. His name, Joe Bonsall Jr., the small way, is also 74 and 43, like Jesus Christ is 74 and 43. The Oak Ridge Boys is also 74. We're talking about the Society of Jesus, Jesus Cross, Messiah, Gospel Parables. They're all 74. 191 is the 43rd prime. Like, again, Joe Bonsall Jr. and Jesus Christ equal 43. Oak Ridge is also 43. So, I mean, there is an organic side to the code, but then there's also the obvious thing that they flaunt in front of us through entertainment. Murder by numbers, singing about how killing's the sport of the elite. It's as simple as ABC, 1, 2, 3. This stuff happening every day. Yeah, organic stuff does work out by the code. No doubt about it. But again, why do you think they flaunt this stuff in society? And again, if you think it's all organic, you're going to start arguing that things like 9/11 are organic. I mean, 9/11 couldn't be a more obvious lie and cover up. Not to mention a million other things that this federal government does are fit in the same category, and that is the main focus of the work, to see through the game and the puppeteers that stand behind our supposed federal government, which is totally illegitimate and needs to be bulldozed, and something anew needs to rise up from those ashes that's a million times better. Possibly also part of this, he's dead 9 years after being inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame on the 9th. But again, just such a perfect day for this gentleman from this band to kick the bucket. So R.I.P. And I know that Elvira song they had that's the one that when I hear this group, that's the song I know that was the big one from them. So anyhow, R.I.P. And the Beryl thing. Again, the experts today, they're saying there's going to be 25 name storms in the Atlantic is the new prediction after Beryl came through as a very intense storm early in the year. Today's date can be written 9/7. The big way, hurricane equals 97. 97 is the 25th prime number. Remember, the year of the 97th NFL season, the Super Bowl was in Houston that year. It was on February 5th. Date can be written 2/5, like 97 is the 25th prime. They made the touchback 25 yards that year. They changed it from 20 to 25 in the 97th season. The Patriots had the 25-point comeback on the Falcons in that Super Bowl. 2-5, 25. Falcons equals 25. The Pope blessed that Super Bowl. Trump said he was cheering for the Patriots. He'd just become president. Pope, Trump, they both equal 25. Same with Vatican, just like how this past year we had the first ever Super Bowl on the Vatican's birthday and the winning score was 25. Words like earth and flood also equal 25. Earth and flood also equal 52. The Super Bowl that year was on 2-5 or 5-2. And then later that year, you had the Astros in Houston go on to win their first World Series when that Super Bowl was hosted in Houston. But you also had the massive Hurricane Harvey flood. Remember, Harvey made landfall on Texas August 25th, but then it hung around. And then all of a sudden it started to dump water August 27th, which had 52 date numerology It was the 239th day of the year, the 52nd prime, like hurricane, flood, earth, Enlil. They're all 52, just like how the hurricane just made landfall on Texas 239 days after the Superior General's birthday. It was the same number combination the next year with Super Bowl 52 in the land of 10,000 lakes. But here's the thing that I've been overlooking all this time with Super Bowl 51 in Houston on 2-5 that year, in light of Houston later that year having the horrible flood and then winning the World Series. Hurricane has the Gematria 56 as well. The Astros won their first World Series in their 56th season after the flooding of Harvey, where Matt Harvey was the first pitcher to pitch in Houston after the flooding of Harvey. But notice from the Super Bowl to the day that storm made landfall, 2 days before it really began to flood, exactly 201 days later, the weather control number. I don't think that's an accident. Just like how the storm all of a sudden changed direction and went to Texas 201 days after the Pope's birthday this year. So just wanted to document that, because years ago we were talking about just the clear flood pattern with the date of the Super Bowl in Houston and then what ended up happening in Harvey later that year. And right after Harvey, I want to say Jacksonville also got hit with a hurricane, and then Jacksonville and Houston were playing each other early in this. I got to go back. They paid tribute to the Harvey devastation multiple ways in that period of time, but this was one of them. And I wonder if there was something to the Astros winning their first World Series also, just in light of the Super Bowl number there. Remember, Houston Texans equals 51, who hosted that Super Bowl. Houston Astros also equals 51. So the year of Super Bowl 51, Houston would go on to win their first ever World Series. That Super Bowl was on the 51st day of the Pope's age. Rome equals 51. It's the only Super Bowl that Pope Francis is blessed. And the good Catholic Brady won that Super Bowl over Jesuit-educated Matt Ryan, who went to school at Boston College, right next to where the Patriots play. Again, the Pope blessed it. Pope 25 like Falcons, 25-point comeback. So obvious. So obvious. And before that game was played, again, I wish they hadn't deleted my channels from back then, because that video had hundreds of thousands of views before the game was played, guaranteeing that the Patriots are going to win. It was going to be all about 25. And you could see the way the world was if that video was still up, because that video had tens of thousands of comments, and most of them were left at halftime of the game. And this is back when we used to get tons of views. Rightfully so. We still should, but the algorithm, the destruction, the deletion of all the channels, the further suppression, we're now like a tiny little cricket in a big jungle that's not getting, we're not being heard. But anyway, back then we were heard, and back then we definitely made a difference. That's why USA Today had to write their hit piece on me. Vice News had to write their hit piece on me. But yeah, that video got so many views, and it was all hate at halftime about, oh, what a dumbass. I thought the Patriots are winning this Super Bowl, moron. Oh, what happened to the 25 guarantee for the Patriots? Well, after the game, we did get some people came back and apologized, but based on the 20,000 hate comments there were probably only like 5 people out of that group who came back and said anything after the game was over. And again, to me, that was just such a sign of just like how pathetic humanity is. It's like, see, this is really what humanity is. They just want to talk shit, and then when they're wrong, they don't say nothing. And, that's what I already knew about people long before that video came out, and that happened in 2017. But that's still the world it is. And that's why so many haters who've been on the sidelines and trying to talk shit for years, now you don't hear them saying as much. They're just sitting there quiet, but they still won't help get out the word about what we're exposing. So almost everybody at the end of the day is part of the problem. They might as well all be accomplices in these murders. Even the one of this dog right here. I mean, you could never tell me this is an accident that just a 5-year-old healthy dog just dead on 7-2, who goes by the name SJ. They call him SJ, the abbreviation for a Jesuit priest, when the Jesuits have this affinity with 72. So, Swagger Jr., better known as SJ, the beloved bull mastiff mascot of the Cleveland Browns, died at the age of 5. The team announced Tuesday. That was last Tuesday. 7-2. And we were just showing how their social media page for when they introduced him on the very Jesuit day of November 5th. So, reminds me of when Medina Spirit died 201 days into the Jesuit Ignatian year after it won the Kentucky Derby before later being disqualified, but it didn't matter. You already got paid out if you took Medina Spirit, the only horse that had the massive 201 ritual at the Run for the Roses. And now since that race, every year they're coding like they're making like 5 of the horses have a 201 narrative now ever since that. That shows you how what we've exposed, they figure out how to cover it up and make the game harder to play. And again, remember, everybody plays for the Lombardi Trophy in the Jesuit-run NFL. And where did Vince Lombardi die by the numbers? At Jesuit Georgetown the day before the season was to begin. Where did the old Cleveland Browns team get sent to? The most Catholic city in America, Baltimore. Old Jesuit stronghold. Again, Jesuits from D.C. to Baltimore from the beginning of this nation. And then they're talking about the other dog who died on the 38th day of the year before this one. And look at what day he died. February 7th. The other 7-2 date. This one's dead on July 2nd. That one's dead on 7-2. But or both dates can be written 7-2 or 2-7 or Jesuit Order 72. Again, the last dog dead on the 38th day of the year, like death, murder, killing, RIP. Yeah, just demented people that have to do this. It's like, okay. I want to, in a way, it's like, can you guys show me that this Kabbalah death magic is actually helping you out? I think you guys would still rule the world if you'd stop with the Kabbalah death magic. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but haven't you realized that the populace you rule over is like completely brain dead? Or is that how they're creating the sorcery and the spell that's making everybody completely brain dead? Yeah, just this comment from Biden about Lord Almighty. It says, while Biden has said only the Lord Almighty could drive him to abandon his campaign, top Democrats tell CNN the decision ultimately lies with party leadership, including Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And that reminds me, they put in Hakeem Jeffries in like a perfect parallel tribute to Obama, um, aka Obama, who again is about to turn 63. But yeah, isn't it funny how the word that's been everywhere ever since last Friday? Same old numbers. Same old numbers being encoded everywhere. Biden, after all the 144s we've been talking about, Biden even had to go meet with the Pope 144 days before the election. So we'll see how far away Lord Almighty is. And again, just to go back to Beau Biden's death, there's a lot to it, but the 201 days before the Pope. But I just want to remind you, it was 191 days after Joe's birthday that his son died. Society of Jesus 191, Jesuit Order 72. Here we are again. And when John Havlicek died, the same day Joe Biden announced he was running for president, when Joe Biden's Secret Service name is Celtic, we're just pointing out how his full name, John Joseph Havlicek, had that 191 and 79. Now here we are. Crucial moment. Democratic leadership getting together to discuss. Do they need to replace Biden on the 191st day of the year on the day 7-9? Yeah, it's it's crazy how they've just done the same things over and over. Same ritual with the finals this year. JFK's Boston Celtics beat the Dallas Mavericks where he was assassinated, coming into the series with 46 all-time wins versus the Celtics. Again, Celtics even equals 46 like Catholic. Joe Biden, number 46. All right. So yeah, I think that was the majority of the news that I wanted to get caught up with. And remember, Alexei Navalny died in that big "What is 47" ritual, dead at age 47 on the 47th day of the year, and then his 47-year-old wife taken over. So they're back in the headlines today. Let me see. Let's check out the other network that's not fair and balanced, but was founded by the Republican Party. Biden delivers strong speech touting NATO amid health questions, elitist Democrats' concerns. Strong from Fox News. Whoa. So today he didn't have to play the character of Slow Joe, huh? George Stephanopoulos offers blunt assistance. Now that's one my sister's going to tune into. That's what's sad about this world is just like people trust the talking heads on the TV more than they do their own family. It's like, well, George Stephanopoulos was wrong about everything with the pandemic. Your brother was right about all of it. You know, nobody who's helping me out with my show just dropped dead out of nowhere on Christmas, but that did happen to George Stephanopoulos' producer. Okay, year after year, I've been showing how there's all these weird death rituals and entertainment when Christmas rolls around. Um, I am curious how they're saying George Stephanopoulos said. Remember, George Stephanopoulos used to work for the Democratic Party for Bill Clinton. Yeah, next month. It's like Willie. Apparently, Stephanopoulos admitted that he doesn't think Biden can serve another 4 years. Okay, the deck keeps stacking further and further against Slow Joe. They're really trying to sell the WNBA through the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark narrative too. Um, Here, let's see how the BBC's covering it. All those 75s in the background for the 75th anniversary of NATO. Again, it should go without saying. Um, New World Order equals 75, Catholic Church 75, Roman Catholic 75, Order 75, the Superior General being 75 right now, Ignatius of Loyola having that 75 name Gematria, the massive ritual they did with the war in Israel that began while it was in its 75th year of existence, after the headline from a long time ago by the Jesuit-controlled New York Times from all the way back on October 6th, 1940, when World War II had just begun. That was a date with 75 numerology, but the headline that day was New World Order's Pledge to Jews. About 7 years before the German Nazis agreed with German Jews to send 60,000 Jews to Israel, or modern-day Israel, where Palestine is. All these things that just haven't been talked about. The word order itself has gematria of 75, and you run it the other way, 60. The phrase order out of chaos is also 75, not to be forgotten. That's why 75 in order. New World Order, order out of chaos, order itself. I'm going to check real quick on how many days it's been from the death of her husband because she took over his role. So they're saying Russia's issued an arrest warrant for that Navalny's wife. Hold on. He passed. It was easy because he died at 47 on the 47th day of the year. And again, she's this leader in the Ukraine thing. And here we are on 7/9. What do you know? It's 144 days later, you guys. Like Jesuit orders 144. How perfect. Oh yeah, that's right. How they had to tell you that they were playing the song "My Way" by Frank Sinatra when they buried him. Here, just remind you about when he passed. It was also the 133rd day of Putin's age, and president has that gematria of 47 and 133. And God, I want to say it was HBO and CNN that partnered up and did the documentary on him before he died. And if you look that up, they keep pressing him at the very beginning of the documentary about what's going to happen when he dies. And he's like, I don't want to. Why do you guys keep asking me about when I die? Like, I don't want to answer that question. I'm not planning on dying. Um, Her birthday, July 24th, 247, like how the Illuminati in the US were 247 years old at the time. She'll turn 48 later this month. Russia's got that 48 connection like World War. She announced that she would take over his role on 219, her name 219, like Roman Catholic like Antonin Scalia, whose body laid in repose on that day back in 2016 on 2/19. All right. So, yeah, what do you know? 144 days later, all in the Jesuit script. Thanks again, Frank the Truth Tank. You didn't have to do that, buddy, but I do appreciate it. Next time we pound pavement, I guess the first one will be on me. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I think we're all up to speed here. I guess we can check on MSNBC, the first news network to appoint a black woman to lead it. And uh, as I recall, she got like appointed 201 days from her birthday. It was like in the peak of the George Floyd 201 hysteria. Okay. To MSNBC's credit, they always do have a little bit different news stories than what Fox and CNN are covering. Those two networks are almost always covering the same things. Okay. All righty. Well, I think we will leave it there for now. Again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share, and thank you to everyone who supports the work. And yeah, shout out to all the sports decoders. There's always sports decodes in the chat, no matter what the topic is. Yes, 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 Jason D. I see your comment. That's true. The so many coaches in pro sports are Jesuit educated. It'll blow your mind if you ever look into pro sports how many coaches and players either went to a Jesuit or Catholic education institution. And remember, the Jesuits do have the biggest network of private schools and hospitals in the world. The Catholic Church does, and again, that's not an accident that they're so connected to education and health, the two things that also have everybody super in debt for the most part. But yeah, the Browns SJ dog thing, Kevin Stefanski, no doubt about it. Here, just since you brought that up, let me it would have been exactly a week ago that the dog died. It was last Tuesday. So last week the dog would have died 55 days after Stefanski's birthday, which means the dog also died on his 56th day of his age, like Society of Jesus is 56, and then he's 42 right now, like Jesuit. Yeah, went to St. Joseph's Prep in the Philadelphia area. Yeah, good one, Jason. Okay. Trinity is in the 201st year. Yeah, Trinity, where Tucker Carlson went, it's technically not a Catholic school, but at the same time, I'm like, are we sure it's really not? I mean, you can't get more Catholic than Trinity. The Trinitarian formula, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that is interesting, though, that Trinity's in its 201st year. What's for dinner? Our classic that we eat at least 2 or 3 times a week, Lepeto. It's the Burmese tradition, and it works out for me because I love me some Lepeto. So anyway, yeah, I do need to fix up dinner, and we'll leave it there for now. Again, thank you to everyone who does hit the like and the share. And until next time, Truth Seeker.